Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are back for game 2 here between mouzMorroW, going to be spawning here as the red Zergy down in the bottom left hand position on... This is just Xel'Naga Caverns, and we do have dBischu, the winner of our previous game, going to be spawning here as the yellow Protoss up in the top right hand position. Now, it was a bit interesting as mouzMorroW in that previous game went for balls out aggression, and dBischu behind it obviously was going for those Void Rays in order to try and harass a third, didn't spot a third, so went straight for the main, and mouzMorroW just kind of underestimated how much damage those Void Rays would be able to do in time, didn't really get up the anti-air required in order to be able to deal with that, and just went for the huge counter-attack. And ultimately with force fields in those positions, that can be very, very hard to counter-attack with pure Zerglings, although he did have the Overlord drops and speed, so that was able to kind of put him in a good position. But regardless of both players having a little bit of banter here, we'll ignore that for now, and we will see what does go on. So ultimately, that kind of response from mouzMorroW was triggered basically by the Forge Fast expand of dBischu. And he felt that he would be able to get in there and do as much damage as possible before dBischu actually got any kind of foothold on not only his base, but also his own base. So we are, as we said before, we are on Xel'Naga Caverns here, so we're not going to see any Forge Fast expands going off too soon on this map, as they're naturally so wide open. So it looks like dBischu here going to be going for that very, very standard wall in at the top of his ramp. I wouldn't be surprised if we did see some kind of 3-sentry, 3-gate expand even out of dBischu at this point. Sort of falling out of style now as well. You do see that 1-gate expand style coming into play as well, and maybe even DT expands, as some people do consider them an all-in, but it's just not the case, as DT expands can be very strong against Zerg if they do neglect that detection. So it does look like dBischu here going to be going for a very standard assimilator timing here, and mouzMorroW actually not going for gas just yet. That can be a bit of a weakness in these positions if the Protoss does go for those very, very quick stalkers. Stalkers poking at the front of your base when you do not have Zergling speed out can be the most annoying thing in the world for Zerg players. And we do have that pylon going down now, so nice block from dBischu at that point. And you've got to remember, ladies and gentlemen, that both of these guys live together, I believe, in the Swedish gaming house. So they've got to know that both their styles very, very well. They've got to be able to anticipate those styles and ultimately counteract them in an interesting way, or a more than normal interesting way. So we will see how both players pull out the games here. mouzMorroW going to be finally going for that gas there. Not the quickest of gas timings, but indeed he will be able to just get that speed out as quickly as possible. Cybernetics Core almost finishing up for dBischu at this point, and wow, actually gets that hatchery down as easier than I assumed he would do. But meanwhile, we do have a little bit of a drone scout going to be coming up here. The Zealot will not be done in time. That drone will sneak up just barely and see what everything that's going on here. Basically right now he's wanting to see what's going on with the assimilators, how many does he have, how much gas is already in mind, and he really wants to check out eventually, maybe in a minute or two's time, where that gas is going. Be it scouting the front to see sentries, or kind of keeping this drone alive forever to see what is happening. So once he sees that first sentry popping out, he's going to be in a fine position to know to a certain extent what is going on, but at the same time you can go for that DT play behind a lone sentry, making this look like a sentry expand, but I have seen DTs come down before that, after that as well. And now a good control of that sentry will clear up that drone. He'll be able to go for the tech choice of the tech path of his choice at this point. And mouzMorroW here, actually just grabbing that 100 gas to get that speed out, and now will be transferring down to his natural here to continue building his little economical lead. So just coming to the economic tab, actually, you see a little bit of a discrepancy there for dBischu. He's going to fall behind ever so slightly until he gets his base up himself. And it looks like we are going to see a bit of a 3-gate expand here from dBischu. So again, I feel this is sort of like an old style, but at the same time, Protoss has a lot of problems expanding against Zerg right now anyway. And wow, look at this. He's been able to drone up like a madman behind this. You know, he's in a fine position. Not really much pressure coming out right now, and there isn't really much pressure that dBischu can put on right now if he is going to be going for this Nexus here. So, you know, we may see a third come out from mouzMorroW very, very soon. It all depends on whether or not he does see that. Lone Zergling will come up here, spot that Nexus, and now he will be in good position to know what is going on. Also, that Zergling does spot those 3 sentries, so he knows quite a bit of gas is invested in those. But look at this, dBischu actually does have quite a bit of gas as well. So if mouzMorroW knows his timings, knows how much gas should be out on the field in inverted commas, that Zergling does push in once again, sees 3 more sentries there, so we'll know that the entirety of the gas pretty much is being invested there. So So meanwhile, we do have mouzMorroW just droning up once again like a madman. 8 more drones on the way. Going to be going for an evolution chamber as well. Doesn't want to get caught off guard like last game. And doesn't want to go for some kind of crazy all-in like last game either. And that Zergling will push up to the front here, see this little force. And, you know, at that point, seeing that force, that's pretty standard for a Protoss to have at this point. What will dBischu go for behind this? Going to be going for another gateway. Maybe we'll see a big gateway push coming out of dBischu. I've seen him do that many a time, kind of 6, 7 gates, even 8 gates coming out. And, ooh, wait a minute, more gateways going down. So up to 5 gates now. Will he throw down a 6th in order to go for some timing attacks? I personally really don't like timing attacks anymore from Protoss. Ultimately, if a Zerg knows it's coming, then it can be very, very easy for them to kind of defend and still have a great economical position behind it. So we do have +1 melee on the way for those Zerglings. Always nice to get +1 armor as well, just to make sure that if the Protoss does get that +2 weapons on these Zealots, then the Zerglings can survive a little bit longer. And meanwhile, back in the base, going to be getting that gas going as well. Does have a macro hatch on the way. And again, I love players that go for these kind of early upgrade timings. Always fantastic to get ahead of your opponent. Play for the mid to late game. But the Zergling is going to be getting a little bit overzealous there. Will be pushing into those Stalkers. Really wants to pull those back. Doesn't want to be losing too many Zerglings at this point, as you know, this force could get a little bit tricky. And especially since he has so many force fields, it all depends on whether or not dBischu's control is good enough. But lo and behold, some Zerglings going to be pushing in here, trying to do some damage. Nice force fields do fall though, so that will force the retreat at this point. And a lone Stalker did run in there to have a little bit of a spot around, but a nice few spine crawlers here in order to be able to fortify this position is going to leave mouzMorroW in a very, very nice position in terms of defense. Meanwhile, we do have these Zerglings just sharking about ever so slightly, keeping dBischu on his toes. Really doesn't want to do anything too drastic right now. But again, we do have that 6th gateway down, so he's going to be warping in at this pylon here, and he is slightly ahead in supply, but these 4 spine crawlers could be absolutely pivotal, as they will be a pain and a half to deal with for dBischu, unless he gets great force fields, kind of circumvents the damage from those Zerglings to begin with. But there we go, there's going to be a push in there. Have a few force fields going around the back, but they don't really block off the Zerglings as well as they should do. The Zealots do get some good coverage on those Zerglings, but the poking away begins of these spine crawlers. They're going to be able to do so much damage if he stays in range of them. Wisely moving back ever so slightly. Guardian Shield is up, but that's not going to be able to do much at all, since there are really no ranged attacks coming here at this point. I'm pretty sure that the spine crawlers do not count as ranged. Although it is range 7 in inverted commas, so I'm not 100% sure on that actually. That's a bit perplexing. Going to be throwing down some force fields there in order to be able to aid his retreat. And this is not the position that you want to be in as a Protoss. Ultimately, you really can't rely on these timing attacks for too long. This will dissipate very quickly, especially since 22 Zerglings. We have Fenipilot, Carapace, and Vengeful Sacs on the way as well for the Zerg. And now dBischu is assuming that there's going to be a 3rd here. Hasn't scouted this position just yet, I don't believe. No, just coming down here for the first time. Seeing if there's a 3rd there, does not see it. So we do also have centrifugal hooks on the way for those Banelings. And meanwhile, we do have those Zerglings going to be harassing this proxy pylon as well. That's fantastic in order to be able to cut off your opponent's kind of reinforcement path. You know, the pylon is going to be laid down here, but this really isn't enough of a force to be able to deal with so many Zerglings unless he gets the perfect force fields. So he will have to kind of pull back for now. These spine crawlers did a great job in that first engagement. Will they do a great job in the second engagement? Oh dear me. Meanwhile, we have a huge Zergling rung by, going to be going up to the north here, trying to assault dBischu with his pants down in essence. This could do so much damage. There really is nothing to reinforce here at all. Few Zerglings as Zealots going to be morphing in here, and at this point dBischu really needs to kind of go all in inverted commas. He's going to be losing a lot of mining at this point. The Zealots doing a pretty good job of trying to clean that up. At the same time, getting pushing in here. Bailey is going to be rolling into all those Zealots. They do so much damage. Force fields do go around the back, cutting off quite a few of those Zerglings as well. So now the spine crawlers are in essence forfeit here, but the natural goes down for dBischu, so this is pretty much all in at this point. Really won't be able to catch up with the economy of his opponent. All the drones coming off the line. mouzMorroW knows that all he needs to do is defend this attack, and the great force fields do go down, but will it be enough? He really doesn't have that much of an army at all. Zergling's going to be swarming in from every side. GG, ladies and gentlemen, and that is going to do it for game 2 of this best of 3, so both players losing a game, tying it up 1-1. We will go to an ace match to finish up this best of 3. I believe that the map is dual site, so don't go anywhere, and we will see who will be triumphant.